Welcome to Introduction to Whitebox Learning Engineering Upper Profile. So what we're going to do in the last video we left off with, we just got done doing blank setup. So we have now that completed in our blank setup, and we are going to move on and now start designing our car. So the first thing I want to talk about is we're going to move down to the next thing into the body category, and we have upper profile, lower profile, and top profile. The reason I'm mentioning all three of these is when we look at the tools in these, they are all identical and the way to draw and everything is the same. Today I'm just going to go over the upper profile in this video so you have the understanding how to do upper profile. Lower profile will be another video, top profile will be another video, but I'm going to go over all the information on how to use the tools for all three of them in this video. And then we will go and start designing, or kind of show you how to design the upper profile portion of your car. So what we're going to do, as you look at this, our block is here. Like I said, we have it all set up. So what I want to do is I want to set this block so it's in our side view. So we're looking at it from the actual left side. So I'm going to cycle the views to the left side view. So now as you can see it, we have our back of our car, our front of our car. This is the top, notice it's angled, and this is the bottom, notice it's straight. And then this piece, gray piece right here, I've not mentioned that yet in any of the videos. This is the hole that the CO2 cartridge goes into for racing. And we have to make sure that we do not obstruct this hole in any of our drawing and stuff like that as we go through. So that's why that is in there. And that's also another reason why we always keep our blank out here while we design. So now we can stay within there, but not cut through this. And we'll talk more about that as we go on. So as we move, we have the same icons up here. Again, we talked about the wrenches and the eyeballs. The eyeballs still turn on the process, and then the wrenches turn on the tools that we need. So I'm going to turn the eyeball on, and as soon as that eyeball's turned on, you're going to notice this blue line appeared. Okay, we're going to talk about that here after we turn the wrench on, but that line appeared. We're going to get rid of it. So I'm going to turn the wrench on. And then the tree expands into the secondary tree here, the docking station's upper profile. And we have our tools in the upper profile right now. Before we start anything, I want to get rid of, like I mentioned before, I want to get rid of this line because it puts this line in here. Not sure why they do that, but it puts that line in there and we want to get rid of it. So the first thing you're going to do is take this and click on the trash can, and you notice that line now has disappeared. The other thing, since we are in here now, you're also going to notice when we turn on the tools, not only do we get the tools, but we have our coordinates in here. We go from the back of the block to the front of the block, and it's coordinated from 0 to 304.8 millimeters. And then we go from the bottom of the block to the top of the block, 69.85 millimeters. I'm going to tell you this right now. Do not design a car that goes all the way up to 69.85, and do not design a car that goes all the way out to 304.8. Those measurements will bring your car out of spec when we are checking to make sure that everything fits in. So we want to make sure that we're not all the way to the length of it and all the way to the height of our block. So just so you know that. So don't go all the way out to the edge and don't go all the way out to the top here. Before we design in any of our three profiles, I always want to make sure that you have your front axle eyeball turned on. And when I turn that on, I click this, that highlights orange, and you're going to notice a gray circle right there. And I'm going to turn on my rear axle. And I turn that rear axle on, and their gray circle right there. You're going to understand this more when you get into lower profile and top profile, why we do this, but I want you to get into the habit of always turning these two on when you're doing any profile work. I'm going to just free rotate this so you can see this is basically where we would drill an axle or put an axle through. So right now we have an axle through our body blank, and if I rotate this so now we can see how our car looks, you can see here's an axle, here's an axle. Okay, so when we have that like that, now you can understand this is how we want to draw so we don't cut through our axle and things like that. So I'm going to go back to my left profile. Okay, so now it's back to my left profile. I have my axles on, and now I'm going to show you the tools. So we have basically 6 tools up here. We understand already what clear does. It erases everything, and this is undoing the last thing. We barely ever use an undo because we have some features up here like remove point and things like that that will take care of that also. So in the shape tools, we have 3 tools in here. We have a line tool, we have a spline tool, and we have a curves tool. I'm going to show you all 3 in this video. However, my suggestion is do not use the curves until you have a very good knowledge of the first 2 beforehand, because the curves tool will basically get you really complicated designs. We'll talk about that when I show it to you in a little bit, and you'll see why. So I always start out with the shapes tool, or with the lines tool, because it's the easiest one to work with. Now everybody probably has done at some point dot to dots. Well, that's basically what we're doing. We're going to go and we're going to click on a spot on here, and we're going to click a point. I don't know why that came up here. I'm going to delete that. Okay, so we're going to click a point and add a point, and that's where we're at here. We're at add a point. So I'm just going to click one right there, and now we have a point. One thing you always want to make sure is when you start your upper profile or lower profile or top profile, you want to make sure your point on the left side, your farthest left point, is all the way to the back and on that dotted line, because it's going to say it's not inspect, because it's going to think you're cutting through this. If this point is up here somewhere, it's going to cut through this. Even though one point's on the line and one's not, it's going to shave a little bit off and it's going to say it's out of spec. So always make sure it's back far enough, just like that. Now sometimes if you take a close look, I don't know if you can see that, but it looks like there's a double box there. Well, I guess there was not a double box there. So I'm just going to go add it again. And there we go. And now what you're going to do is, now if you add another point, it'll draw a line from one point to the other point. And you can just go through and draw these lines. Now, this helps with the axles here, because your car has to go beyond where the axle hole is drilled. These axle holes are going to be the same place for everybody. So this car has to go beyond here. If I finished my car over here, it's going to give you an invalid car because your axle hole isn't going to be inside your car body. So notice how my line has gone all the way to past the axle. I don't have to go all the way down here. I could end it up here somewhere. It doesn't matter. For now, I've ended up, and I'll show you how we can change things. One of the other things you need to understand is you have to maintain a 4mm distance from any point on this CO2 cartridge hole to any part of your line. So if you look at this, if I set my yellow crosshair right on the top of that CO2 cartridge hole, it says I'm at 44mm. That means my closest line can be is 48 to this. So I look up here and I got that line at 53. I'm good with that. I could even move that closer if I want to. Okay, so, and this is how I would go about moving pieces. There's a move point. This one is the add point. This is the move point. So if I pick that and I want to move this a little closer, I can move it a little closer. But now let's take a look. I'm at 44, and where is this? I'm at 48. That's probably as close as I can get. Okay, and it still may show me an error because I might be too close because of the angle or stuff like that. But I can move points. I can move this point up over here if I wanted to. I can move this up. I can move this down. So you can go grab, as long as you grab one of the points, you can move your pieces around. Okay. If I wanted to add another point, let's say this is too long for me, I could drop a point right in there, and now it makes it easier for me to maybe make a little different move in here if I wanted to. Something like that. I want a bigger dip or something. I'm not sure. If I move it, I can even slide it up and down the line a little bit to get it closer to another one, farther from another one, something like that. So I have a very small movement. The fewer points that you have, it tends to be a little bit easier to design. If you have nothing but points in here, it gets really confusing. So just understand that these points are movable, and you can maneuver things and stuff like that. The last one here is a delete point. So if I click that, let's say I didn't want this one right here, I just click on it and take it away, and now it just takes it from that point and moves it to that point, and you're fine. Okay. Same thing, if I didn't want that one, it would just do that. And I can always go back and add points and move points and things like that through here if I want to. So let's say that's what I want. That's my design. Okay. That's with the line shaping. That's with the line shaping. I'm going to delete that just to show you now what we do with the spline, how spline works. Same thing, you still go place your points into where you need them, okay? But what you're going to notice is instead of a very straight line, it's going to have more of a curve to it. It'll follow more of a curve and kind of give you a smoother movement to where you want to go. And again, same thing works with these. If you want to tweak this a little bit, move this, and it's going to not get you jagged like the lines will. This will actually make us more of a smooth looking contour to your design. Okay, so that's spline. Okay, a little bit more smoothness to your car, I guess we should say. So I'm going to delete that one. And then I want to show you this one here. This is the curves. This one is, again, is the very difficult one. I would suggest not using this one at all. And if you do use it, make sure you know how to use these very well before you even attempt to use this one. So I'm going to get my add points. I'm going to, again, click on my far left side. There we go. Sometimes it takes a couple clicks to get it. And same thing, I'm going to click a point. And now what you're going to notice is I've got 2 points, but now I got 2 circles in between. And I do that again, and I'm going to get 2 circles. And if you, other than the 2 circles, it looks like the same type of thing I've just drawn. But now what we can do with our move, instead of just moving our blocks or points, we can grab a circle, move a circle, and by moving the circle, depending on how great we move it or how little we move it, we can add a specific curve to our car that we may not be able to get with the spline command. Now, the difficult part with this is getting your car perfectly the way you want to in this aspect, because keep in mind, at some point, you're going to have to cut this out on the bandsaw. And I've seen people that will actually make such a goofy looking shapes on their car like this here that it'll be very difficult to get the bandsaw blade in here to cut this out. And keep in mind, this is probably not, as you read through your research, this is probably not going to be a very aerodynamic car. You want very little movements to your car so that it is very slight. These are just for that fine-tuning adjustment that allows you to get it just perfect. Again, don't use curves until you've mastered the other 2 first. Okay, so again, I'm going to delete that because, again, I don't use curves a lot. I like starting out this, and I'm going to go lay my dots out here. Oh, got to go add my point. Okay, lay your dot out and just go through. And again, make sure you're above your axle holes and above your CO2 cartridge hole. So let's just say that I want to do that, and that's my design. Now, in theory, I could also do this. Okay, straight line, straight line, straight line. Now I switch it to this, it will add the curves to it. or add the splining to it, a little bit of the flow. If I do this, it will add the dots to it. So you can get a general shape out of this and then tweak it by using these if you want to. Okay, so let's say this is my upper profile design. Now I want to make sure I apply this and I'm done. Because remember, you always apply and done. And once you click done, that disappears, and now all your dots disappear, that your movable dots, and you can now see kind of how the top profile looks like as you're looking from it from the left side. So everything above this blue line you would cut off and would get thrown away. Okay, everything would get thrown away. In order to see and modify your dots again, you just turn the wrench back on and everything comes back, and then you can see everything again. So again, always apply and done. Be careful of this reset button when you're there. So this is the upper profile. Again, remember, always make sure when you're doing your profiles to put your axles in first so you know where they are. Avoid getting too close to your CO2 cartridge, and always start with the simple one first, and don't work your way into complicated curves or anything like that, so that you can't manage your car very well, or have a harder time coming up with a good design, because it's difficult to manage that. So thank you for watching. Please proceed with the next steps as assigned by your instructor.